She told me not to worry about the past. Then her ex sent me a full timeline of their overlapping dates. I met Clara at a bookstore downtown, of all places. I was flipping through a Murakami novel when she bumped into me, literally, trying to reach for the exact same book. It was such a cliche moment that I laughed out loud, expecting her to roll her eyes. But instead, she smiled and said, "You can have it. I've read it twice, but it's better the second time." I didn't even know what to say. She was striking in this non-obvious, lived-in kind of way, like she'd seen the world and still had the courage to grin at strangers. We talked for 20 minutes that day and somehow ended up sharing a coffee 2 blocks away. Her voice had that sharp, dry wit that made you lean in just to catch every word. She told me she'd recently gotten out of a long, messy relationship, and I remember saying something like, "That must have been tough," and she just waved it off with a casual, "It's over now. I don't look back." I liked that. I liked her certainty. I hadn't dated in almost a year. My last relationship ended with more silence than screaming, like we both agreed to stop trying. I thought I was broken after that. I stopped believing in the big, cinematic kind of love. But then Clara appeared and suddenly everything I thought I'd settled into, routine, logic, control, was torn open. She made everything feel bigger than life. We started dating quickly. She didn't want to play games, she said, and I liked that directness. Within a few weeks, we were seeing each other almost every day. She'd leave books on my desk, scribble notes on my bathroom mirror in red lipstick, cook me the weirdest combinations of food late at night. Avocado and marshmallow toast was a recurring horror, but I ate it every time, just to watch her laugh when I grimaced. She was electric. Everything about her made me feel alive again. But even early on, there were things I didn't want to notice. Little things. She never let me take pictures of her, said she hated how she looked in photos. Fair enough. She always kept her phone screen tilted away, said she had anxiety, and hated seeing notifications pop up. Again, reasonable. Once we were out at a bar with some of her friends and someone mentioned a name, Ethan. I remember clearly because she tensed up so fast her drink nearly spilled. When I asked her later who he was, she just laughed it off and said, "Oh, just a guy who didn't take no for an answer." I didn't press. It's easy to ignore red flags when you're in love, especially when someone makes you feel like you matter again. Clara was incredible at making me feel needed, wanted, desired. She'd kiss me out of nowhere in the middle of conversations. She'd text me, "Come over now at 2 a.m." and meet me at the door barefoot, wrapped in a blanket. I'd never had a connection that intense before. So when she told me, 2 months in, that she loved, I said it back without thinking. There was this moment that sticks with me. We were lying on the couch, her head on my chest, and I asked, "Do you ever think about going back?" Meaning, to her ex. She turned her face into my shirt and said, muffled, "No, he's part of the person I was, not the person I am." I kissed her forehead and told myself to believe her, because why wouldn't I? But things started to shift, slowly. At first, she began to cancel plans more often. She'd be tired or busy with work or just not answer until the next morning. I didn't freak out. I wasn't that guy. I gave her space. But then I noticed a pattern. Fridays. Always Fridays. She was always unreachable on Fridays. The first time I asked about it, she said she was helping her sister babysit. I believed her. But the second time, she hesitated, just for a second, said, "Didn't I tell you? I'm doing night shifts every other Friday now." Maybe I should have said something then. But again, who wants to be the jealous boyfriend? The clingy one? I didn't want to become what her ex apparently had been. So I stayed silent, and I kept getting deeper. I remember one night, we were sitting in her car outside my apartment. She looked distant, like she wasn't really there. I asked her what was wrong, and she said, "Do you ever feel like you're trying so hard to forget someone that you start to lose yourself?" I asked if she meant her ex. She didn't answer. The next morning, she sent me a voice note whispering, "I'm sorry. I get in my own head sometimes. You're good for me." I saved that message. I replayed it on bad days. I thought it meant something. But the truth was, I was trying to glue together something that had cracks I couldn't see yet. Then came the night it all started to fall apart. We were watching a movie at her place. She went to take a call in the other room. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. But her phone lit up on the couch. I saw the name, Ethan. The name she told me never to worry about. He sent, "I miss your voice. Can we talk tonight like we used to?" I stared at it for maybe 30 seconds. Heart hammer. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't read the other messages. When she came back, I acted like nothing had happened. But inside, something cracked open and wouldn't close. That night, I didn't sleep. I told myself maybe he was just texting her. That didn't mean she was responding. The next day, I asked her, calmly, if she still talked to him. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, he's obsessed." I blocked him on everything. If he ever reaches out, I ignore it. I nodded. And I wanted to believe her. But that night, I created a burner Instagram account. Something in me just needed to know. And 2 days later, that account got a DM from Ethan. And that changed everything. I stared at the message from Ethan for almost a full minute before opening. There was no greeting, no context, just a sentence. "If you're with Clara, I think you deserve to know the full timeline." I didn't reply immediately. My hands were shaking. My stomach felt like it had dropped through the floor. I reread it over and over, thinking it might be a prank or a weird ex trying to stir drama. But there was something about the wording. It wasn't angry. It wasn't manipulative. It was matter-of-fact. Cold even. After 10 minutes of pacing, I wrote back, "What are you talking about?" A few minutes later, he responded, this time with a PDF. "This is everything. Reddit. Do what you want with it." I'm done playing her games. I hesitated before downloading it. Some part of me already knew what I was about to see, but there's a difference between suspecting something and seeing it laid out like a spreadsheet of betrayal. The file was called ClaraTimelineOverlaps.pdf. I clicked it open. At first, it looked like a spreadsheet. Dates, times, locations, names of restaurants, hotel check-ins, Instagram post links, screenshots, photos. I scrolled and felt like the air was being sucked out of my lungs. She had been seeing both of us. Not just once. Not a mistake. Not an isolated relapse with an ex. This was systematic, coordinated, choreographed. The entries began months before I even met her. Ethan had been with her for nearly 3 years. They'd broken up briefly, on a break, about a week before she and I met at the bookstore. But during our second date, she'd gone back to Ethan's apartment and stayed the night. There was a time-stamped security cam photo from his apartment building. I recognized her sweater. She had texted me that night saying, "Going to bed early? Talk tomorrow?" As I kept reading, my body went numb. I was looking at the precise dates when she'd told me she was working late, or with her sister, or not feeling well. And each time, Ethan had a counter entry with something else. A receipt from a dinner date, a photo of her in his bed, voice memos she'd sent him. She'd told him she was trying again with him, that she was cutting off the rebound guy. That rebound guy was me. I sat there in silence for a long time. The clock said 3:12 a.m., but it felt like time had stopped. My phone buzzed. It was her. "Clara, can't sleep, thinking of you. Wish you were here." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The file ended with one final message from Ethan. "I'm not sending this to hurt you. I was you once. You think you're the only one, the one who makes her forget him, but you're not. You're just the next guy she lies to while figuring out how to feel nothing at all. Good luck." I wanted to break something, but instead, I just sat there, quiet. It was morning when I finally moved. I printed the document, every page of it, stapled it, put it in an envelope, and then I waited. She came over that afternoon, smiling, kissing my cheek, bringing my favorite overpriced coffee and acting like everything was fine, normal, safe. I asked her to sit down. Her smile faltered when she saw my face. "What's wrong?" she asked, tilting her head like she always did when she played innocent. I handed her the envelope. She didn't open it right away, just stared at it like it was radioactive. "What is this?" she said quietly. "Open it." She did. As she flipped through the pages, her face went pale, then red, then unreadable. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she laughed. It wasn't the funny, light laugh she'd used when we first met. It was hollow, shaky. "So he really sent this to," she muttered. "That's what you're focusing on?" I asked. "Not the fact that you've been lying to me for months?" She looked up, eyes glassy. "You don't understand. You don't know what he put me through." I stood up. Don't try to spin this." "I'm not stupid." She stood too. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I laughed then. I couldn't help it. "You didn't mean to hurt me? You were sleeping with us both, telling us both we were the only. How exactly was that supposed to end well?" "I didn't know what I wanted," she snapped. "I was confused. He was safe. You were new. I didn't plan this, but you maintained it, repeatedly, with lies. That's not confusion. That's cruelty." She stepped forward, tears spilling. "I chose you. I ended it with him weeks ago. I was going to tell you, but you didn't." Silence. I grabbed my coat. I needed air, needed distance. She blocked the door. Please don't leave like this. Don't let him win." I looked at her for a long time. Her makeup was running. Her hands were shaking. She looked like the victim again, but I saw it now. She wasn't broken. She was practiced, and I'd been her audience. I didn't say another word. I walked past her and out the door. She didn't follow. Not that day. But the next one, she did. The next day, she showed up at my apartment. I hadn't blocked. Not yet. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted answers. Maybe I just wanted to look her in the eyes one more time and ask why. Or maybe I wanted to see if she'd even try. She did. She was standing outside my building when I got back from work, her hoodie up, eyes puffy like she hadn't slept. She didn't say anything at first, just held up a paper bag and said, "Your favorite tie." I remember. Like that erased everything. I didn't let her inside. I stood there, arms crossed, back against the door, waiting for her to speak like an actual adult. "I messed up," she said. "I know that. I'm not going to pretend like what I did wasn't off." I didn't respond. She bit her lip. I didn't know how to let go of him. Not because I loved him, but because he made me feel like I owed him something, like I couldn't be anything without him. "Then why was I in the picture?" I asked. "Why drag me into your therapy session?" Tears welled up in her eyes again. "Because you made me feel safe in a different way. Real. And I thought maybe if I loved you enough, it would fix the damage he did." I scoffed. "So I was your emotional rebound project? God, no. I loved you." She stepped closer. "I do love you." I wanted to believe her. Some twisted part of me still wanted to believe her. That I hadn't just wasted 6 months of my life on someone who never really saw me. But belief without trust is just another version of denial. I asked her, "Did you ever plan to tell me?" Her silence told me everything. I nodded slowly. "You don't get to say you love me if you're willing to lie to me every single day. That's not love. That's manipulation." She flinched. Like the word physically hit her. "Please." she whispered. Please don't end it like this. I looked at her, at the woman I once thought I might marry, and I felt nothing. No rage, no heartbreak, just exhaustion. It ended the moment I opened that file. She left without another word. I blocked her that night. Phone, socials, email. I thought that would be the end of it. But pain doesn't disappear just because the person does. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the empty side of the bed, in the jokes I'd start to tell before realizing she was always the one who laughed loudest. Friends tried to help. Some told me to go out, get back out there. Others said I should take time, heal, process. I nodded to all of them, but I didn't really do either. I just shut down. I deleted all our photos, burned the little notes she used to leave me, boxed the books she'd given me, and dropped them at a thrift store on a rainy Tuesday. But even as I tried to erase her, she kept popping up. Mutual friends would mention her name like it was a warning. Someone told me she was seeing someone new already, and all I could think was, does he know? I started therapy 2 weeks later. I didn't tell them about Clara right away. I started with vague stuff, trust issues, burnout, confusion, but eventually it came out. My therapist asked me a question I still think about. What would you have done differently if you had seen the signs earlier? I didn't have an answer, because the truth was, I did see the signs. I just chose not to believe them, because she smiled at me like I mattered, because I was afraid of being alone again, because I thought love was supposed to hurt a little. And then, 2 months of silence later, she reached out again, not with another message or visit, but with a voicemail. It was 2:17 a.m. I woke up to the buzz of my phone. One missed call. No ID. Then, the voicemail notification. I played it on speaker in the dark. Her voice was soft, almost broken. Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I'm scared, and I didn't know who else to call. I think I'm pregnant. And if it's true, it might be yours. I sat up so fast I nearly dropped the phone. My mind was racing. Was this a trap? A new manipulation? A desperate reach for attention? Or was it real? I didn't sleep that night. I just kept playing it over and over. It might be yours. She'd never once mentioned any scare, never even hinted, but suddenly, months after everything, she drops this bomb. The next day, I didn't respond. I called my therapist, told them everything. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to Ethan. I didn't know what I expected when I messaged Ethan again. I still had his account in my burner inbox. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a full minute before I finally typed, she just left me a voicemail. Says she might be pregnant. Says it might be mine. Did she ever pull this with you? He responded faster than I expected. She told me the same thing. Almost word for word. That was 2 years ago. I stared at the screen. Was it true? She wasn't even late, just needed me back on the hook. She said it slipped out because she missed. She admitted that later, after the damage was already done. The air in my lungs felt heavy again. Why didn't you warn me sooner? I asked. Because when I was in it, I hated the people who tried to warn me. I thought they were jealous, bitter, judgmental. And when I tried to warn the next guy after me, he called me a stalker. People only believe it when it happens to them. I didn't respond for a long time. He didn't message again either. There was nothing left to say. I blocked Clara's number after that, deleted the voicemail, even saved a backup in case she tried to twist things later. But I wasn't going to keep engaging. But she wasn't done. A week later, she emailed me from a different address. The subject line was, please, just read. I clicked. I shouldn't have, but I did. It was long, rambling, emotional. She said she wasn't sure about the pregnancy yet, but was terrified and lost and didn't want to go through this alone. She said she'd never stopped loving, that she made mistakes, but she wasn't a monster, that Ethan was manipulating, that she only slept with him again in the beginning because he threatened to hurt himself. She painted herself as the scared, abused woman again, the one trying to do the right thing, the one caught between two unstable men. But I wasn't unstable. I was just done. I didn't reply. Instead, I printed the email, added it to the folder with the timeline Ethan had sent. I was documenting now, not because I planned to use it, but because some part of me knew Clara didn't like being ignored. And if she pushed harder, I wanted proof that I hadn't done anything wrong. It sounds paranoid. Until the call came. A friend of mine, Kelly, worked in the same building as Clara's new boyfriend. Apparently, Clara had told him that I was obsessed, that I couldn't let go, that I'd been stalking her with fake accounts, that I was dangerous. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me again. She was preemptively rewriting the story, making me the villain so she could be the victim if it came back around. I don't know what scared me more, that she'd do it, or that she was so good at it. Kelly offered to talk to the guy. I told her no. I didn't want more drama, but I did something else. I packaged everything, every message, every photo, every audio clip, every lie she'd told both of us. I included the voicemail, the pregnancy claim, and even her final email. I wrote a letter. Not threat, just factual, lined out in cold, logical language. And I mailed it to the guy's office, anonymous. I wasn't proud of it, but I wasn't going to let her do to someone else what she'd done to me. After that, I tried to rebuild. I reconnected with friends I'd isolated myself from, started hiking again, threw myself into work. I finally stopped waking up in the middle of the night with her name in my throat. But the worst part of betrayal isn't the other person. It's what it does to you. You start questioning everything, your instincts, your judgment. The way you love. My therapist told me healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning to live with what happened and still move forward. It sounded like a cliche until the day Clara's new boyfriend emailed me. It was simple. Thank you for the info. I wish someone had done this for me before. That was it. No name. No follow-up. But I knew exactly what he meant. I felt this wave of relief I didn't expect, not because I ruined something for her, but because maybe, for once, I helped stop the cycle. Weeks passed, then a month. One Sunday afternoon, I saw her at a bookstore, the same bookstore where we met. She was with someone new, holding his hand, smiling. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and pretended not to. I didn't approach her. I didn't feel rage or jealousy or sadness. I just watched her for a moment and thought, there's someone who hasn't seen the PDF yet. I didn't think I'd ever hear from her again. After seeing her at the bookstore with that new guy, I felt this strange combination of peace and pity. She had become predictable, like a rerun of a drama I'd already memorized. Different man, same script. But then, 2 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Clara. Her voice was steady this time. No trembling, no crying. Almost cold. Hey, I know you probably hate, maybe you even think you've won, but whatever you sent to Adam, it worked. He's gone, and I hope you're proud of yourself. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to it on loop. Proud of myself? Just done letting her flip the narrative. I deleted the voicemail, saved a backup, and moved on. Or at least I thought I had, because a week later, Adam called. I didn't recognize the number at first, but when I picked up, he introduced himself. I'm not looking for drama, he said right away. I just needed to talk to someone who's been there. We ended up talking for nearly an hour. Turns out Clara had told him I was some controlling ex who couldn't handle rejection. When he confronted her about the evidence I'd sent, the timeline, the voicemail, the screenshots, she broke down, admitted some of it, but then accused me of framing. She said Ethan and I had teamed up to destroy her, and Adam believed her for a while. But then things didn't add up. Her stories got tangled. She slipped up on timelines. And once, when she thought he wasn't paying attention, she answered a call from a number saved as no name and said, "Hey baby," he told me. It was like watching her glitch in real time. Eventually, he confronted her with a printed copy of the same PDF I'd gotten, the one Ethan had sent me. She screamed, threw it at the wall, said we were all trying to destroy her. She's brilliant at turning herself into the victim, he said. But eventually, you just see through it. By the end of the call, Adam thanked me again, then said, I told her she needs help, not more people to fall for her stories. I told him, good luck, she'll just find someone who hasn't heard them yet. After we hung up, I sat with that for a while. Clara wasn't some evil mastermind. She wasn't plotting revenge or trying to ruin lives for sport. She was a deeply broken person who learned, somewhere along the line, that the only way she felt safe was by controlling everyone else. And people like me, people who love deeply, who give benefit after benefit of the doubt, we were the perfect canvas. That realization didn't make it hurt less, but it helped me stop carrying her mess like it was mine. I started journaling more. Therapy helped too. Eventually, I stopped replaying every conversation we had, looking for the exact moment when the lie started. It didn't matter anymore. She had never really chosen me. She just needed someone who made her feel new again. And when I started to see through the performance like all the others before me, she looked for her next audience. Months passed, then a year. My life started to feel whole again. I met someone, slowly this time, carefully. A woman named Jenna, who didn't play games, didn't speak in riddles, didn't hide behind vague trauma and romantic mystique. Just honest, grounded kindness. I told her about Clara. Not everything, but enough. Jenna didn't flinch. She just listened, held my hand and said, you don't have to prove anything to me. I can tell you're not that guy anymore. And she was right. I wasn't. The scars were still there. I still hesitated when someone said, I love you. I still glanced at phone screens too quickly, but I was healing. Then, one night, out of nowhere, I got a message request on Instagram from a girl I didn't recognize. Her name was Kayla. The message read, Hi. I know this is random, but I'm dating someone named Clara, and I think she might be the same Clara you once knew. I found your name in an old comment thread. If you're willing, I just need to ask you something. I sat with it for hours. Was I going to be this woman's Ethan? Was I going to relive this story again through someone else's confusion and pain? I could have ignored it, but I didn't. I replied, yeah, I knew her. I can answer your questions, but I'll only share the truth. No revenge, no drama, just facts. Kayla responded almost immediately. That's all I want. I just want to know what's real. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't about Clara anymore. This was about stopping a pattern, about refusing to let her silence others the way she silenced me. Kayla and I messaged back and forth for over a week. She was kind, careful, not accusing, just confused, exactly like I had been when Ethan first reached out to me. At first, she asked vague questions. Did Clara ever vanish on weekends without explanation? Or did she say her ex was stalking her but never show proof? It was like watching someone walk backward into the same trap, unaware it had already snapped shut around others before her. Eventually, Kayla said it outright. She told me her last 2 boyfriends ganged up on that. One of them forged texts. That he made a fake pregnancy scare just to control her. But she gets weird when I ask about specifics. and now I'm just scared I'm being made into the next bad guy. I knew that feeling too well. I asked her one thing. Do you want to see what Ethan sent me? She said yes. So I forwarded her the PDF, the exact same one that shattered my world a year earlier. But this time, it wasn't a wound. It was a warning. Kayla didn't respond for 2 days. When she finally did, she simply said, "Thank you. You just saved me months, maybe years, of pain." And then she told me I was her fresh start. I believed her. But you were someone's fresh start too, weren't you? That line hit me harder than I expected. Yes, I had been, but I'd also been the collateral damage in someone else's healing. And I was done being a chapter in Clara's endless rewrite. I didn't hear from Kayla again. I hope she walked away before it got worse. Before Clara could rewrite the script again. Before she got to the part where she cries in doorways and says, "Please don't leave. You're different." Because I wasn't different. None of us were. We were just the next ones. I thought I'd buried this part of my life for good. I was happy now, truly. Jenna and I had moved in together. We built routines that felt like comfort, not chaos. She never made grand declarations or romantic threats. She just showed up, fully, honestly, every day. But one afternoon, months later, I ran into Ethan. Total accident. Grocery store parking lot. He was pushing a cart full of groceries. I was leaving the store with mine. We locked eyes at the same time. For a second, I thought he might look away or ignore me. We'd never spoken in person, just messages in dark, desperate moments. But he walked up. "I heard about Kayla," he said. No small talk, no hesitation. "Yeah," I replied. "She reached out." He nodded. "I think we've both unintentionally created a little network." That made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was true. "How many of us are there, you think?" I asked. He shrugged. "Enough that I'm starting to believe Clara doesn't know who she is unless someone's loving her or leaving." We stood in silence for a moment. Then he looked at me and said, "You're okay now?" I thought about it. And I realized, yes, I was. "I am." "Good," he said. "Took me a long time too." He started to walk away, then paused. "You know what the wildest part is?" he asked. "She'll always say we ruined her, but I think we just stopped letting her lie to herself." That stayed with me for weeks. Maybe because I had spent so much time blaming myself, wondering if I could have fixed her, healed her, saved her. But now I saw that she didn't want saving. She wanted control. She wanted to write the story and assign everyone their roles. But I was done being a character in her fiction. I was writing my own story now. And it didn't include her. The last message I ever got from Clara came 6 months later. A blank email. No subject, no body. Just her name in the from field, like a ghost knocking one last time. I didn't open it, didn't reply, didn't even hesitate. I deleted it and emptied the trash. And then I sat on the balcony of the apartment I shared with Jenna, listening to her hum a song she made up while watering plants. And I realized healing isn't always about closure. Sometimes it's just choosing not to open the door, no matter how loud the knocking gets. And that choice? That silence was the loudest, clearest peace I'd ever known.